How's it going, everyone? It is Skullzi here with the latest gaming news, rumors, and speculation. And today's video is going to be all about confirmed information, as we recently received new in-game screenshots for the Wayward Realms, a new grand RPG being developed by the original creators of the Elder Scrolls universe. These developers worked on several amazing games, but seeing how most of you are here on the channel for Bethesda, you're probably excited to know more about their ties to the Elder Scrolls. These devs not only created the entire Elder Scrolls universe, but worked on each early Elder Scrolls game starting from Arena, going to Daggerfall, and then Morrowind in some capacities, and now they aim to make a new, gigantic, grand RPG that plays in a similar way to early Elder Scrolls games, when the games had more gameplay depth and RPG mechanics. I've already broken down what the game is on the channel numerous times in the past, but fear not, if you still haven't heard about this game yet, then this is the video for you, as I'll not only be quickly summarizing what the game is and why you should be hyped for it, but at the same time I'll also break down new information and statements about Wayward Realms as well, including literal new in-game screenshots. And while the game is indeed in a very early stage of development, I think it's safe to classify these screenshots as in-game, especially considering the game developers did say this was in-engine footage. Remember though, the following information is subject to change. As I just said, the game is indeed in early stages of development right now, but when I say open to changes, I highly doubt there'll be like any negative changes, only further improvements and alterations to certain design elements, the user interface, improvements to character designs and item models, and so on and so forth. Basically, they're not going to take away from what we're seeing here, they're just going to add to it massively. So first off, let's hop over to the Wayward Realms new Steam page. Using their Steam page, we can both get everyone caught up to speed regarding what this game is, as well as break down the new information contained within. And by the way, do me a favor and follow and wishlist this game. The Steam page states as follows: under the direction of Ted Peterson and Julian LaFay, lead developers of the team behind the Elder Scrolls Arena and Daggerfall, Once Lost Games is creating a new open-world fantasy RPG where choice, consequence, scope, and role-playing will all be experienced like never before in a realistically scaled open world and a new class of game, the Grand RPG. The Wayward Realms is set on a group of over 100 realistically scaled islands, known collectively as the Archipelago, where scores of factions vie for influence and power, kingdoms strive to maintain new dominance, upstarts seek to earn a place at the top, and dynasties set generational plots into motion. Should the player earn a position of prominence, they may change the course of history. However, they must first prove their worth, battling rivals, mercenaries, monsters, spirits, and even demons. On their quest for fame and fortune, players will venture through strange lands, delve into foreboding dungeons, and traverse kingdoms full of humans, elves, orcs, dwarves, and a few other unusual races. Welcome to the Archipelago. And now they list the following main design principles that they do want to take into consideration when developing the Wayward Realms. First of all, they say a massive world. No, really, way bigger than most games you can think of. Big cities with hundreds to thousands of NPCs, deep, dark, dangerous forests, gigantic mountain ranges, sprawling swamps and marshlands, vast oceans, and more, brought to life through dynamic procedural generation. Constantly evolving experience and story. A virtual game master keeps things interesting for you, making other characters and their factions react and plot their next move based on your actions, resulting in no two players having the same exact game experience. World events have very different effects in the life of a socializing aristocrat, a thief entrenched in underworld conspiracies, a scholar collecting ancient artifacts, or whatever role you craft for yourself, because the Wayward Realms is going to have real role-playing. You're not playing some pre-baked warrior or mage, but a character class of your design, with customized skills and abilities to craft your own spells, potions, and enchantments. Want to try playing a character who is really outside the box? We got you. A world full of lore. We call it the Wayward Realms for a reason. On the surface, things may have that familiar medieval fantasy look, but dig a bit deeper and there's a lot to learn. From the multiple moons in the sky, to the library's worth of books, to the multiple cultures of each race, there is always something new to discover. Right out of the gate, this all sounds freaking amazing. It sounds like the Elder Scrolls games of the past are literally being brought back to life with modern technology and gameplay elements in the Wayward Realms, and so much listed here, it just has me so freaking excited. A world full of lore is great, because one of the things that sets games like the Elder Scrolls apart is the amazing lore within the game's world, and even when it comes to the Elder Scrolls, a franchise I've been playing for like way over 15 years, I still to this date discover new information about the game's universe, even in games I have thousands of hours in. New crazy lore, a deeper explanation about one of the backstories of my favorite characters, or even another huge clue relating to one of the many mysteries contained within the Elder Scrolls universe. And don't even get me started on Akavir, Lig, Dragon Breaks, or even the Dawn era. We just don't have enough skooma to open up those rabbit holes today. If Wayward Realms can tap into the same energy regarding the game world's lore, mysteries, and more, then that would put Wayward on a whole different level above a lot of the competition already. Another thing that stands out to me is the Virtual Game Master, a digital dungeon master, if you will, for those of you who play D&D. And this is perhaps the most interesting mechanic in Wayward, in my opinion, as the game itself will pay attention to the playstyle of the player, what type of character the player is, what types of actions the player has done in the game world, and the game will react accordingly, creating new quests, experiences, and much more. It's said that players will never have the same gameplay experiences from one game to another, and each player and their respective game world will be tailored to them. And even further, the same goes for various factions and important people in the game world as well. As the player starts to gain more fame and notoriety, killing monsters, completing quests for kings and nobles alike, these in-game factions will change up what they're going to do to accommodate the decisions of the player, or perhaps work against the player. If it's obvious the player character is trying to take down a faction, you can bet that that faction will mobilize against them, but at the same time, that faction's enemies may attempt to work with you. As the old saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If Wayward can nail factions in this way, it would be huge, as my video yesterday basically talked all about this and how amazing it can be. It seems like games lately have taken notice of this, as Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord has a similar faction system, although it's a bit rough around the edges and in many ways simulates the appearance of an organic faction system rather than actually having an organic faction system. If Wayward Realms can truly have several in-game factions all organically fighting for power, making alliances, responding to player actions and the actions of other in-game factions, then that would be huge, and this gameplay mechanic alone could single-handedly add hours upon hours of gameplay into Wayward Realms. This could even get deeper if each faction has various characters attempting to seize power and lead said faction, adding to an even deeper system underneath the factions themselves, as depending on what NPC is leading a faction, that could dramatically change that faction's actions in the game world. And if a faction leader also happens to have a good relationship with the main player character, then you could find yourself having a rather powerful ally, or even some more powerful enemies, or even an opportunity to work your way up the various seats of power and eventually lead that faction for yourself. And all of this and more seems to be clearly what Once Lost are striving for with Wayward Realms, only that is just one layer of icing on this cake. Combine that with a true role-playing experience, a beautiful landscape to explore, dungeons to clear out, mysterious legends to solve, and various playable races, and you basically get the RPG I've been dreaming about forever now. An RPG that not even previous Elder Scrolls games have 100% accomplished yet, and that is why Wayward Realms has my attention. Now back to the Steam page, because we're about to get to those screenshots. First though, real quick down here, we see the system requirements, which surprisingly don't seem to be all that system heavy. Of course, like I said, the game is still in the early stages of development, so these system requirements probably serve more as an estimate placeholder, more so than anything else. But now for the screenshots. Note, some of you may have already seen some of these screenshots broken down here in the channel, but fear not, as there are a couple new ones indeed, and these new ones are actually some of my favorite images from Wayward thus far. We'll start with this image here, taken from the recent trailer. The orc traveling through the woods in the previous trailer finds himself perched up on this cliffside, overlooking the world in front of him and contemplating where he wants to go first, and what adventures he would like to embark on, very much like we as the player would do in his same situation. And that's why Bethesda Game Studios in the past usually has the main player start the game basically at some kind of overlook like this. I broke this image down in detail in previous videos, but I'll go ahead and summarize what we can see in it here real quick as well. You can see a wall stretching far into the distance, keeping unknown ancient dangers at bay. We can see multiple towers in the hills with either flames or a banner flying above them, and we can see multiple moons in the distance, likely influencing the culture of Wayward just as the various moons in the Elder Scrolls did for its own game world. And remember, this view is all but one small tiny portion of the game world contained within a Wayward Realms. Next up, one of the new screenshots, and anyone who has played Daggerfall should immediately be hit with that wave of nostalgia, as this image screams not only Elder Scrolls, but also Daggerfall specifically. It's great to get more RPGs like this, first-person immersive worlds full of lore, mystery, and adventure. We can see the player characters wielding his trusty axe while being stared down by a wild orc. The orc is wearing his traditional Orcish tribal garb and has red eyes full of anger apparently. I wonder if all orcs can turn their eyes red like this, or if this orc in particular has some sort of effect, curse, or just blood rage active. One interesting thing of note here is this actually is the orc we saw in the previous trailer and this previous screenshot here. And the orc in the trailer actually grew up around and was trained by humans, and that's why we see an obvious difference in vibes and culture when comparing the two orcs. We seem to be in some sort of graveyard with a tomb down at the edge of the rock path, a tomb that I can't help but wonder what is lying waiting within. Ancient ancient terrors guarding treasures unknown, or perhaps something the orc doesn't want us to find. Some kind of fabled and protected ancient orc relic that holds great magical powers, or maybe even great influence over the wild orcish tribes. Either way, the lighting looks on point here, and we can already see that Unreal 5 was a great engine choice. Next up, an older screenshot, but this clearly has the same orc and forest from the trailer, only the orc has dismounted his horse to chop the spider in half. Hopefully the orc doesn't get, like, spindled up into some kind of web or something. And while on the topic of previous screenshots, we also see this one as well. Now, don't worry, as we still have 2 new screenshots to get to, but this one clearly shows a mage or wizard of some kind in an ancient library, fighting off swarms of horrifying eldritch-like insects that clearly don't want the mage to be doing whatever it is he's doing. This might be the Library of Logos as well, mentioned in the lore as a very important location in the game's universe. Next up, another one of my faves, and another huge Elder Scrolls vibe image. We can see an alchemist's table with all sorts of various ingredients and regions. We have what looks like fly amantia mushrooms, a scroll with likely alchemical knowledge inked onto its page. We see a few interesting crystal formations, various other types of mushrooms, both realistic and fantasy, some of which are literally illuminating the surrounding area through their bioluminescence, and we see stacks of gold coins and even what looks like golden nuggets, which makes me wonder if we can do some kind of transmutation like magic in order to convert the gold nuggets into actual gold currency. There are various bottles, containers, and even a rather shiny looking apple as well, and then in the right hand corner it looks like a little mushroom farm, making me wonder if perhaps we as the player could grow our own alchemical reagents within the safety of our laboratories. We can even see some sort of hanging moss plant in the background as well, either serving as a decorative purpose or perhaps also being an important and useful reagent for further potion and poison experimentation. And last, we see some of the mushrooms broken down, having the caps separated from the stalks, making me wonder if perhaps different parts of various plants of fungi could actually be used for various things. Maybe the glowing mushroom stalks are good for potions, while the caps are actually poisonous. Either way, the overall vibe and aesthetic here is top notch in my opinion, and is a perfect blend of fantasy style alongside that realistic aspect, because Wayward Realms isn't going for photorealism, which is good. They're actually going for a realism with a stylized flair, and that is awesome. I can totally pick up on those vibes in this image. And finally, last but definitely not least, this screenshot right here of what looks to be the entrance into a dungeon or underground catacomb of some kind. Again, heavy Daggerfall vibes, and again, loving the visual aesthetic here. Definitely unique, but in a good way, and a great blend of realism and fantasy. We can see the ancient stone walls around us, filling us with an air of foreboding before entering deeper into the chamber. We see what looks like passageway after passageway leading deeper into the structure, with bookshelves full of ancient and forgotten knowledge lining the walls. Who knows just how deep this structure goes, and what else lies waiting within. Maybe the deeper you go, the more interesting ancient knowledge you come across, but at the same time, the more dangerous it becomes. Maybe hiding in the final room of this chamber, amongst the darkness and the cobwebs, is legendary ancient forgotten information guarded by that of an evil lich or vampire. Maybe this area actually isn't all that dangerous until you find and open the wrong book, summoning some kind of creature from a realm you couldn't even begin to comprehend. It's so easy for the imagination to just run wild whilst looking at these recent screenshots, and I can't help but hope that Once Lost are able to make this game the exact game they want to make. I hope Wayward Realms can check off every single box listed here on the Steam page. I hope the game is truly amazing, as so far it looks like the game is the game I've been waiting to play for quite a long time. And all this was done, by the way, within the last 2 years, as the devs have been working from home for free. Once they get a publisher though, expect this development process to pop off, and for this game to be one step closer to becoming a reality. Remember though, like I said, everything seen here so far is from an early dev build of the game, and is subject to change as time goes on. That is everything I wanted to talk about and cover in today's video. Like I said, this game looks amazing, and even though it's still in early stages and we don't know too much about it, just based on the staff behind the game and their overall goals for this game, just really has my attention, and I hope this game has your attention too. Make sure you spread awareness to this game. Let's try to help them out and get them a publisher, and as always, let me know what you think about all this down in the comments below. If you enjoy the content, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and turn notifications on so you don't miss the latest uploads. Only 10% of my subscribers have notifications turned on, so please go to my channel page and hit that bell. And also, if you do enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe, and if you're you're already subscribed, check to make sure you're still subscribed, because lately, YouTube has randomly been unsubscribing people from all sorts of channels everywhere. And if you want to go above and beyond to support the channel and community, you can support the channel over on Ko-fi, Patreon, or here on YouTube as an exclusive channel member. Links for all this and more are down in the description below, and as always, thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in next time, when I'm almost just as hyped for the Wayward Realms as I am the Elder Scrolls 6, and that's not even a joke, I'm being serious.
It just works.